Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome to this week's show. It is a video game podcast for grown-ups, for adult gamers. I'm so glad you're here. This one's kind of packed. I say that every week. But I get pumped up every single week. There's cool stuff going on in video games. I hope it's okay to be excited about this stuff. I hope there's something that you're always looking forward to in your hobbies, your family and friends. Welcome to the Andy B Show. I'm the host of the Andy B Show. You know it's true. I've been here since the beginning. My name matches if you check the ID. Marathon's Cryo Archive finally opened its doors to us, and I have some fresh thoughts about what it's like to run on that gauntlet. There's a lot of stuff up there in Cryo Archive, a lot of hidden things. You know what's not up there? DLSS 5. We're going to talk about the AI slop filter that Nvidia is pasting all over your video games. Crimson Desert is out. I've seen a video. You can drift the horse. With my own eyes. Starfield's coming to PS5 on April 7th. We got our first look at gameplay from Exodus. Saros has showed off some new features that you might care about. The PS Portal is still in my gaming rotation. And we've got some cool stuff at the end about what if the Game Awards were a little bit more like the Oscars. And there's a really cool article. I want to share it with you and discuss the possibilities of all of those great games that really got snubbed because they were just past the cutoff. Yeah. So we'll talk about that busy week in video games. No doubt about it. It's hard to keep up, but let's be honest. And that's why this show is here. I played some video games this week. Maybe you have too, and we're going to talk about them. So I don't want to bury the lead. Cryo Archive is online, and I have been up there. So in the video game marathon, which is a game about hundreds or thousands of years into the future, not sure which, we go to Tau Ceti 4 as humanity, which is some planet in the other galaxy, right? Just the nearby galaxy, to try and expand. We've already expanded to the moon, we've expanded to Mars, and we're running out of natural resources. And so humanity decides we're going to go find the next golden zone planet, right? The next Earth-like planet that's out there. And Tau Ceti 4 is the one they choose. And they send a ship called the Marathon to Tau Ceti 4. To fuel the Marathon, they need a lot of natural resources because it's going on a hundreds of years worth of journey, even at light speed or near light speed. And what they do is they take the moon of Phobos and they shove the Marathon ship right through the moon. Like pierce it. It looks like an olive with a toothpick going through it, like a really wide toothpick. And that's what they use, the natural resources of the Phobos moon. They come, the machines that are built into the Marathon convert the energy of that moon to power the trip there. And they've got 30,000 inhabitants of Earth and Mars and our Earth moon that take the trip. They go into cryo sleep and they're going across the universe to try and plant a new world. Hundreds of years pass. Anybody that started the ship and got on the ship, all of their family back home are long gone. They really said goodbye to everything to get out there to Tau Ceti 4. They land on the planet. There's reports coming back. It takes hundreds of years for the data to come back, and we learn that something has gone wrong in Tau Ceti 4. And when the game Marathon, the new game, is set, there's no obvious place where all of the people have gone. There's settlements on the surface of Tau Ceti 4. There is a depleted and maybe damaged Marathon ship orbiting in space. And there's no colonists anywhere. There's evidence of colonists. There's audio logs. There's, evidence that they're out there, but they're gone. And you are a runner, someone that is designed to inject your consciousness into a machine body to deploy onto the planet, scavenge some things, learn about things. You're there to make money. You're a mercenary. But other people, other organizations, whether it's the UESC, aka space government, whether it's one of these other mega corporations that funded the Marathon expedition, they want you to go scavenge things. So you're a tool to them. You have your own motivations. We don't know what those are outside of profit. But you go down to the Marathon, to the planet, we assume from orbit around the planet. Like, did you also leave 400 years ago and make it over to Tau Ceti 4? When did you get out there? Who are you actually as a runner? Is a very interesting question that I don't know has been answered. And where are you deploying from? They're like pushing matter back and forth. They're like, recreating you onto the planet. And then they inject your consciousness and then you're there until you die or exfil off the planet. The presumption is that you're on some type of a ship around Tau Ceti 4 alongside the Marathon. I'm not sure that's true. It could be that you are in the Marathon. Maybe you're somebody that's still asleep in cryo and they're pushing your consciousness around. They haven't said. These are mysteries yet to be fulfilled. The implication is that you're an independent contracted mercenary that's out there to Tau Ceti 4, and you're down on the planet, and you're trying to really get into the Marathon ship, and they finally opened it up. What is inside? What happened to all these colonists? There's a big sci-fi movie that just launched that has nothing to do with this necessarily outside of the fact that it's science fiction, called Project Hail Mary. I want to go see it. I'm most of the way through the audiobook. It's really good. And like solving the mysteries of space, if written well and done well, is incredibly interesting. And I am like into this Cryo Archive, this marathon, this journey that we're on. The Cryo Archive is forbidden. It's verboten. Somehow we've hacked our way into an access point that allows us to send our consciousnesses to the Cryo Archive. And all of the other runners are up there too. And we're trying to fight. And the robots are up there trying to keep us out. Or, they say, trying to keep us away from something that they want contained. There's a big boss out there. I haven't seen it. I've only heard it's called the Compiler. And everything's very digital in this game. It's very computer-based. Lots of little command lines and lines of code running around. But something's gone wrong up on the Marathon ship hundreds of years ago, and we're closer to finding out what it was. So in Marathon, when you want to get up onto the ship, you have to bring a lot of gear with you. And as an extraction game, if you've been listening to this show for a while, you've been hearing me talk about it. The game's been out for like 2 weeks. I've been playing it. You have to bring a lot of gear that's worth a lot of value to be able to get up onto the Marathon ship. And so it's expensive, if you will, to get up there. You really have to risk 5,000 credits worth of gear all at once to be allowed to enter. So everybody's bringing their good stuff, their really good gear. And they give you a free kit, a sponsored kit with blue items that are worth enough to get up there. I hope they will do it once a weekend. Because if I didn't mention this, the Cryo Archive is a special time-limited map. It's only open on the weekends. And some people were really upset about it. I heard someone say that they were that they thought it was like a capitalist movement to like keep the working people of Marathon down or something. It's like, "Hey, we can't afford to go up to the Cryo Archive. That is capitalist overlords." It's like I think that you're just going to run out of gear if if 6 or 8, I'm not sure how many teams spawn into the Cryo Archive at once. Teams all spawn in and one of them exfils, then 7 teams just had 5,000 plus gear each wiped. So, like, how many runs can you really afford in Cryo Archive? How often can you get out there? So I asked. I said, "Just how many cryo runs can you afford this weekend if you never extract successfully? Because if you get out, you'll probably leave with a lot of, the gear you brought in plus a lot of extra stuff you find." And I wrote, "I think I could do 8 in a row if I don't exfil successfully at all. At around a 5,000 loadout ante, you just can't run it over and over without coming up short." And I didn't have a ton of responses to the poll. I think Threads like throttled it or whatever. A lot of my polls will get like 40, 50 responses. This one I only got 7, but I think it's indicative. 29% of the folks said they don't qualify at all because you have to be level 25. You have to have unlocked all of your factions. And that's not a huge grind. I've only been playing like an hour a night, on and off. Sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's none. So I'm not playing a ton, and I've managed to unlock it since launch, but it kind of depends on when you bought the game. If you bought the game at launch and you played some long sessions, you can access it. Some people said, "I'm not broke, I'm poor. I can run it 1 to 3 times," which is where my buddy was at, that I went up there with. Most people said, "I can run 3 to 6 times. I'm middle class fancy." No one said I can go 7 to 10 runs. So I don't know what's true. I don't know what's most likely, but I'm going to guess that the queue is going to kind of like ease up, by the end of this weekend, because it only runs like Friday night through Sunday something. Someday that runs through Monday 10 a.m. So I guess if you want to grind all Sunday night and get no sleep for work the next day, go for it. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I think it was interesting. Our situation was, we did crew fill with one extra person. It was that person's second run. It was me and a buddy, our first run, and it's just a huge map. The map is larger than you'd expect. It's all inside a ship, so there's no outdoors, which is like I think obvious, but just in case, there's no out of doors with it. And yeah, when you exfil or you infill, you go in our case, we brought our sponsored kit, and you load in, and you can see that the map is like almost uh, it's kind of like a spiral from my first view of it, because trying to grok how the map looks is actually gameplay. Um, and there's people that are putting out guides. I went in without seeing anything. I didn't want to watch any videos early. What I wanted to kind of just do is get that first experience. And so you can go look up a vision of the map online, but basically there's 6 areas around the main control room. And it looks like there's a bunch of little extra areas around, but like a lot of big cities, you'll have like the city of Atlanta. You'll have Atlanta in the middle, and then you'll have highways that run around the circle of it, the perimeter highways, right? So you can kind of like be out there on the perimeter and at any point kind of dive in. And this kind of looks the same. It looks like you can be spawning in at some place called index or preservation or biostock or cargo or steerage, but you probably need to get to control, which is there in the center. So that I think is how it works. But in addition to that, there's also security clearances. So you end up having security clearances that you do or don't have along the way. You could find these pickup cards and increase your crew's security clearance. You start at level 0. There's up to a level 3 with the more cards that you find. And there's a lot of robots. And the robots are bringing their air game. They're all like green, blue, or purple shielded, which is like the shield tiering. And anybody else that you find in here is geared up as well, right? Because they have to bring in a lot of gear, a gear of at least 5,000 value. So, which again is tough. Most people are not going to bring that all in to any given match. Bungie also launched the ranked matches, which are very similar in that it's time limited. I think I don't know if it's just for the weekend, but it's a time limited ranked mode. and it might run all week. I think the map is going to rotate every week, which one is the ranked map. And it also has a gear ante where you have to bring in gear that's worth, say, 5,000, or I think it starts at 3,000. So it's less. You don't have to bring in as much. Most people, after they have a good successful exfil, can do a gear ante of 3K. You know, that's basically 2 guns, a shield, some cores, um, things like that. So most people can afford that. I think there will be a lot of people that can run ranked. What's the benefit of ranked? Ranked is interesting. In a lot of video games, a ranked mode just means that you're going to get skill matched with people that want to get like hardcore about their gameplay. And when that happens, you're going to be, dealing with some folks that are a little sweaty, a little more serious. You might be the sweaty or serious one along the way. And the games nowadays, if you're in ranked mode, will give you some type of exclusive rewards, titles, cinematics, customizations, non-gameplay, impacting customizations, different skins and logos and stuff. And I think that's the case here. I haven't played a ranked game yet in Marathon. So you ante up though, and then you also bring what they call a tag with you, which is almost like a bet. So there's this poker methodology. It's funny for a game with so much poker like content and verbiage about how you're going to ante up with your gear and then you're going to buy a token and bet and you have to beat that score. It's there's no loot boxes. So thankfully, Denmark doesn't have to put their foot down on Bungie. But the gear scoring is such that if you get like the basic tag for free, what it really is that you've got to gather up another 3,000 gear to be able to exfil and get your points up. I don't know what the benefits of that are outside of like cosmetics that they promised. I haven't really seen. So we'll find out what that's like. I'll probably do a little bit of that. I'd like to get another run or 2 of Cryo Archive before it's offline this weekend, but they're going to bring it up again later. There's 7 vaults that you have to unlock. You have to like solve puzzles and survive. There's no rooks, so there's no rooks coming in late. So that's like a big difference as well. And some people have done it. Some people have done all 7 vaults successfully and exfilled and beat the combine person, computation, whatever that person's name is, compiler. Apparently that's a boss from the original Marathon trilogy, but I didn't play the original Marathon trilogy. So yeah, if you've been up to the Cryo Archive, let me know. Let me know how it went for you. Are you going up again? Is it too much? Not enough? Just as a quick plug here, you can send me your video game emails. podcast@andb.show is the email address. You send me your emails about this or other video game topics. I will read them, and I may read them live on the show. Okay. I feel like that's enough about Marathon. I'm not sure if you agree, but I will say that I'm still into it. That's probably all I'm going to talk about it for now because there's more stuff going on in video games than just Marathon. It doesn't seem like it sometimes, but I would like to tell you that I saw a video just to confirm that you can drift the horse in Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert came out this week. Apparently you can drift the horse. And if you're on the audio version of this show, drifting the horse looks a lot like the horse is sliding into second base in a baseball game, but curving around a corner. It's real silly. The game, it turns out, is fine based on Metacritic scores. It's sitting at a 78 on Metacritic. Some of the summaries of the critiques are that it's a visually stunning open world, a technical marvel. Apparently it does run pretty well, maybe really well. It's got great boss fights, but a lot of people are saying the story is kind of a mess. Some of the trailers they put out really seemed like it was going to be like, hey, we're all in it together. It's going to be this great story. But there's no doubt that it's got the word bloat all over it. It's bloated with these systems. It just is. So that's just the fact of it. It's a very heavy game in the way that when you put a suitcase together in a movie, when you're rushed to get out the door and you don't look about whether it's clothes in there, you got your lampshade, here's your shoes, 4 pairs of the kids' socks, a picture frame, 2 pineapples, and a bag of walnuts. Like that, they just threw it all in the suitcase, zipped it up, and went, "Suitcase looks good, huh? You like it?" Yeah, it's almost too much. Matter of fact, they threw so much in there, they threw in some AI art. They threw in some AI generated art, supposedly. I don't really know if it's true. Um, but there's pictures floating around the internet that are of paintings that are in some of the castles and areas in the game that look like AI slop art. Like, I don't know if it's true, but like, you be the judge on whether or not it matters to you. Some people really care about whether or not the AI art is real and hand drawn by real people. But when you take a look at some of the stuff that they've put in here, I go, yeah, you have AI arted yourself, no doubt about it. We will talk a little bit more about AI in video game art. But first, Marathon wasn't the only video game I played this week. My child came to me, my youngest B, and they asked me, "Dad, what's Fortnite? And can you teach me how to play?" So I took a long breath. Well, kid, let's see if I can still remember. Logged back in, first round, victory royale. I still got it. Still got it. I haven't logged in. I don't think I logged in. Maybe in 2025 sometime I logged into Fortnite. Every time you log into Fortnite, it's like logging in to like the busiest part of that movie about the metaverse from Steven Spielberg, Ready Player One, where it's like, oh, there's Marty McFly in the DeLorean, which the DeLorean was in Ready Player One, but it literally was in the game this time with me. Like I logged in and I was like, there's literally Marty McFly as a character skin you can get, and there's literally the DeLorean. And I drove around the DeLorean in my first match, and I came back and all kinds of things were different. The circle that closes in as the battle royale kind of forces everybody to come together was a triangular. I guess people got too used to like rotating around the edge of the circle, so they made it a triangle. And it didn't just like form in on one spot; it like moved around, so the triangle is shifting around constantly. I found a jetpack, so I jetpacked, I DeLoreaned, um, and I won a victory royale in solos, no build, because this again, if you didn't remember at the top, this is a podcast for grown-ups and adult gamers. We don't need to do the builds. That's for other people. That's for people that want to memorize the button combos extremely specifically. We're not doing that. We're not going to do it. But we pulled out a victory royale. We took a bow, and my kid was like, "That was amazing. Let's do it again." I was like, "Do it again." That's all the Fortnite I had to play this year. I'm done now. I did it. I can walk away. But she was so enthused that she's like, "Let's play it again." So I haven't taught her how to do that, but she's definitely at this point where she's she knows video game. Other kids are playing different video games. We don't play Roblox in this house. Just to say that out loud. Ro I'm not sure that Roblox is evil, but I am sure that I feel like I'm sure about my opinion. I feel like they don't care enough about making it safe for kids. Fortnite, a little bit different. They have some user-generated stuff in Fortnite, but not that Disney's perfect, but there's like a lot of Disney and Lego tie-ins, so it's a dangerous game to go, I'm gonna trust that Disney has thought through whether Fortnite is a safe platform for kids. Or I'm gonna trust that Lego has thought through whether Fortnite is a safe platform for kids. Lego does make like some social platform stuff for kids, a little bit of website stuff so you can show off your designs and things like that. And they're very like clear about the privacy protections and what they're going to show and what your kid will have access to. And so I go, well, there's a little bit of trust um, if Lego trusts them. I can trust them as far as Lego can trust them. And do I trust Lego? A fair bit, I guess. Never really thought about this out loud before, but like it's true. But I would not let them go out there, but I would let them go with no voice chat options into Fortnite. I think it's probably okay, but no voice chat. They're too young. They don't need to get exposed to these weirdos on Fortnite that might just want to talk to kids. No, thank you. But if you're an adult, if you're a grown up and you like this show, you can head on over to andyb.show. It's not just that you can send your emails to podcast at andyb.show. You can go to the website, andyb.show. And what will you find? You'll find the Patreon. That's the Patreon. You used to be able to just go to patreon.com/the Andy B show, but now you can go to andyb.show and skip typing all the rest of it out. And you can subscribe for free just so that we're never separated. And you'll get my some exclusive videos and quips and things like that. But you can also subscribe to support the show and become a friend of the show. So thank you to all four. You could be the fifth patron or friend of the show if you'd like. I'd love to give you a shout out and hear from you if that's you. But there's four friends of the show, people supporting the show financially so I can pay for the products, services, games, all this other stuff to keep the show running. And I thank you so much for helping out with that. And you get some exclusive videos and stuff. I'm going to record another game chat here soon. Game chats, if you can believe it, are videos where I play a video game and I chat about it. Revolutionary. There's an exclusive series over there called Game Chats. And when you subscribe, you'll get access to all of them. And I'm going to keep making them. I did a newsletter for a while. I thought the newsletter was fun, but it took way more time to write. Because when I do writing, I'm not going to write with AI. I'm just not doing it. The writing that comes from me to you is the same as my voice from me to you. It's coming from me. I'm not putting an AI in between us. And so there's a lot of people out there that'll just generate articles, blogs, everything else. And it's like, I think if somebody just wanted that, they could just go ask the AI for themselves. Hey, AI, write me an article about this game or whatever. People don't want that. I don't want it. I want it to be from somebody that gives a rip about what they're writing. So all of those archives are up there. All the newsletter archives are up there if you want to read those too. But it just took up too much time. I was like, I can record game chats, exclusive videos for you in less time than it takes me to do a newsletter. So big respect for the people that are writing real articles out there that are giving a rip about it. I don't know how you write that fast or that well. Like I mentioned later in the show, stick around. We got an article from Big Nerd Gaming about the Game Awards. He did a cool look back. So we're going to talk about that soon. And that's somebody you can follow, Big Nerd Gaming out there. They were Weston over there is the real deal. He's just prolific, writes all those articles. Okay, we're on to the news. Are you ready for the news? More games are getting better. Thank you, PlayStation Super Scaling Resolution. Is that what it's called? Sony this week released not DLSS 5. We'll talk about it. But the upgraded PSSS. PSS. How many S's are in this? PSSR. And they rolled it out to Silent Hill F, Monster Hunter Wilds, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Crimson Desert, and more. So if you have a PlayStation 5 Pro and a TV that you can, that's big enough for you to care that the resolution is improved, there's a lot of games on there. You just have to go turn it on and see the difference. So, everybody's putting out these glad handing looking, we're so glad to support this. But basically, they're getting it for free once they enable it. So Alan Wake 2, Control with the upscaling is in there. Ninja Theory did it for Senua's Saga. And the one for me that I was the most excited about was actually Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because Final Fantasy VII Remake was on the PlayStation 5. I don't think they did. Maybe they did something special for the Pro, and I don't think so. Um, the the remake, the first of the new 3 games of the trilogy that they created out of the first Final Fantasy VII, um, looked incredible. Maybe one of, like, just the best looking games I've seen in a long, long time. And when Rebirth came out, I was like, "Oh, we're going out into kind of the more open world area," right? That's what happens in the video game. In the actual game, it opens up, the aperture changes, you're outside of Midgar now, and you're fighting out in the open. And it's where in the original game, everything kind of really opens up. But when it did it in Rebirth on the PlayStation 5, including the Pro, it lost some stuff. Like, the graphics were not as good. They had to really tone it down to get a wider range of visuals and open space and open world. Um, and the sharpness and clarity went down. They had to issue a bunch of patches and changes to make it look right. It was not as good. None of the characters looked as clean. It was disappointing to me. I played about 20 hours of it apparently, and then rolled off. Something else came up. I did beat the first Final Fantasy VII Remake and the first Final Fantasy VII back on the actually played it on the PC. I think we had a gateway PC, and I bought Final Fantasy VII on the PC. I don't think I had a PlayStation at the time that could play it. Forgot about that. Yeah. Um, anyway, when Remake came out, it was incredible looking. But when Rebirth came out, I just didn't feel good about it. So that was the one that I booted up this week. I was like, I wanted to see how Rebirth looks and get out there into the fields, the open areas, and take a look. And I haven't done a game chat about it. I'm not even sure. I guess I have a capture card that could pull it up in 4K. I'm like, I'm not even sure I can capture it in a way that would make sense. I'm not Digital Foundry. And if I was, I would not be respecting myself right now because of all the things I said about DLSS 5. We'll get into that. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks pretty good with PSSR enabled. I played it for 15, 20 minutes, just kind of looked around, did a couple things. So I might do a game chat video about that. But yeah, that's kind of like a free upgrade. Like, your PlayStation 5 Pro just got better, and all you had to do was sit there and click a button. Not bad. All right, what's next in news? Yeah. In case you were wondering if video games are good this year, Frazeal33 dropped this one on us. He says, "We're only a quarter of the way through 2026, which means we're officially on Game of the Year watch." So he put together the top games of the year according to Metacritic. Got this cool little graphic, which, if you're listening on the audio only version, you can't see, but don't worry, I'm going to read it to you. So I'm going to start at the bottom. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7, 8 games on here. Cult of the Lamb Woolhaven is at the bottom of the list with an 86. I've never played Cult of the Lamb. Maybe you have. Perfect Tides, Station to Station. Never even heard of that game. Does it have an 86? Like, what's the criteria by which these games do or don't have this? Esoteric Ebb, 87. Never heard of it. Neo 3 was 86. Mugenics, Meugenics. I have heard of that one, but I haven't played it. Resident Evil Requiem, 89. And at the top, it's Pokemon Pocopia with an 89. So that's a lot of big games, or at least a couple of big games with really big scores, and then some smaller games I've never heard of, but that's kind of how the Game Awards goes, right? You're going to have some games maybe you've never heard of. PlayStation Portal got an update because I should have grouped this in with the PSSR, but I didn't want to confuse myself or you. PSSR is the rendering upgrade for the PlayStation Pro, PlayStation 5 Pro. I almost confused myself. The PlayStation Portal got an update. It says it adds 1080p high quality mode and UX refinements. So that rolled out this week. I don't think I've turned on my PlayStation Portal this week. But they also announced some information over there on the PlayStation blog. They said, since our last update in November, we've seen strong momentum on PS Portal. Cloud streaming monthly users grew by 162% year over year in January. That's a lot. And over 50% of PS Portal users are now PlayStation Plus Premium subscribers, reflecting growing engagement with the cloud experience. Yeah, because when you bought the PlayStation Portal, you didn't have to have PlayStation Premium, which is like their one level up tier of PlayStation service. It's like $150 a year, something like that. You could just have a regular account or a free account, I think, and you would stream the game from your PlayStation over the internet to your portal. But I've got to tell you, that doesn't work great. Like, it's okay to like log in, maybe change something, check a setting or something like that, but it's never worked great for me to stream it directly from my PlayStation up to the portal. However, what works really well is the cloud streaming, which Microsoft figured out a long time ago. Like, the cloud streaming works pretty well if your cloud streaming works pretty well. But to add the extra bounce from your machine up to the internet over to your portal, most people's internet's not built for that. But these huge data centers where all the data's at, where all they're streaming the game from, is built for that. And it works great. Yeah, but I'm surprised it's only 52% of, or 50% of PS Portal users that are upgraded. Yeah, so you can get a high quality mode now. So now from the streaming servers, they're going to like push a higher quality mode out there. So you'll get higher quality video, but it'll use more data. And if you're on like flippin' fast internet, no problem, right? Just make it look better. So that's a big deal. So the games on the PlayStation Portal will look better. They've got a slightly refined cloud streaming experience. They say better detail page, game invites, trophy notifications, search screen. So the good news is if you, well, that's a lot of good news. But if you're into the portal or thinking about getting one, you want to know whether they're still developing for it, or whether they've kind of given up on it. And they're adding stuff. So that's great. Speaking of things that are getting added, there's stuff coming to Game Pass. Coming soon to Game Pass are the following games. It's always tough to read. Is it coming soon to Xbox Game Pass, or is it coming soon to Xbox Game Pass of a certain tier? So I'm going to read, unless it's Ultimate only, these are all on Premium, which is that $15 a month or $20 a month tier. It's not the $30 one. South of Midnight, probably first to Premium. The Altars, Disco Elysium, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Absalom, which I really want to play. Not enough to plug my Xbox in and subscribe. Resident Evil Biohazard, The Long Dark, and they're still making that game. I remember playing The Long Dark like 5 or 6 years ago. I guess they're still working on it. Barbie Horse Trails, Final Fantasy IV, and some game called Nova Roma, which is PC only Game Pass. It looks like it's a game preview game of some type of a strategy sim. Sure. Anyway, most of those are coming out just randomly. They drip drop these. Like, these dates are nuts, man. Xbox never tells you what the dates are when they push these posts out. They just say coming soon. I always make fun of them. I think they blocked me. Wario 64 of those got the dates. Some of these come out 3/18, 3/19, 3/24, 3/25, 3/30, 3/31, 4/2, 4/2, 4/7. It's like, okay, are you sure about your game? Like, these games, do you have to drip feed us all the content all at once? Or can you just go, here's all the games for the month? Like, why are you dragging it out? Like, give us the announcement and let us play the games. Like, I'm not a current Xbox Pass. I read the Xbox Game Pass stuff for you, in case you're listening and you're a Game Pass subscriber. That's the whole reason they're on the show. I don't subscribe to it right now. Maybe I will again someday. I think it is a little bit of gaming news, but I read it for your benefit, as a service to you, the listener or the viewer, depending. Because you might be listening to this on Spotify or a podcast app of your choice, or on YouTube, or on Patreon. What else is coming? Starfield is coming to PS5 on April 7th. So they announced that. It's been long enough. It's been held up there. They'll finally sell some copies. There was quite a bit of information that came out with this, which is that they've got new locations, new vehicles, new spacesuits, new weapons. And basically like a lot of new things. So um, if you've been wondering what are they doing over there at Bethesda, they've got Trackers Alliance, which is available now, and a bunch of upgrades coming on April 7th. Terran Armada, which looks like kind of a story-based expansion, and Free Lanes, which when I read it, it just sounded to me like it was A, free, but B, something cool for kind of everybody to go through. Um, as far as like changing up, I think they're going to be adding like new space combat and new options around. Like, are they really going to add like new space travel things that'll let you trade stuff? You know me, I like games that let you do space trading, buy low, sell high with the space junk. Anyway, they put out like a 18-minute like developer deep dive overview about free lanes and some of this other stuff. So I really enjoyed the time I had with Starfield back on the Xbox. I made the mistake of saying, "Oh, I'm an Xbox Game Pass subscriber. I'll play it for free." And then I pre-ordered the deluxe edition or whatever, which means I paid for 2 expansion packs that didn't exist so that I could get 3-day early access because I was hyped. Like I wanted it bad. Like I really wanted to play that game. I loved the soundtrack. I loved the NASA space punk aesthetic. Like there was so much I really liked. Game came out. It was pretty good, but like most Bethesda games, there's like a lot of, there's like a lot of, the pacing is difficult when the game is completely directed by you, when you're just free to go anywhere and do anything. Is it still interesting? And how do you keep up your own motivation to play the game? And I dropped off. But that happens to a lot of these games for me. But many of them I come back. I came back many times to create new stealth archers on Skyrim and finally beat it, like beat the main quest and a couple of the faction quests. Um, but I never did make it all the way through Starfield. So maybe someday. Yeah. Maybe I'll buy it on PS5. It apparently is the best version. And there's all kinds of new stuff coming. And they added a bunch of things around the adaptive controllers. And you've heard me talk about it before. I really like that dual sense controller. I think you need to have it. Um, People are missing out. The way that the DualSense works, and we got a story coming up here about Saros about what they're doing with DualSense. Like, I know it works on PC, but I think it legitimately changes how the games feel when they really use the controller. All right, so the Free Lanes update is going to be free for everybody. If you're a premium edition owner on Xbox, that was me, you're going to get the Terran Armada DLC at no additional cost. But if I go back to Xbox, I have to buy the game again or resubscribe. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know. I'll probably wait for it to get real cheap and then pick it up. That's my thinking. Because I've already got space. I'm doing space now with Marathon. What else do I need, space for? Come on. Let's pop over to it since I invoked it. There's new information about Saros that came out. So Saros comes out on April 30th on PS5. It got delayed a little bit, as you might remember from the Game Awards. And this new trailer that they put out basically was like a feature trailer. A little bit of hype, a little bit of, hey, it's coming, don't forget, but PS5 specific features. So they've got 3D audio. I don't think you have to have their audio headset, but they show the Pulse audio headset. They're definitely doing the adaptive triggers where it's like pushing back and forth to really feel things. The half pull of the trigger in Returnal was amazing. If you pulled it once all the way down, it would do something. But if you half pulled it, it had like a little checkpoint in the feel of the trigger where you felt the half pull hit, and the gun would operate differently if you aimed with a half pull or fired with a half pull. That's what I'm talking about when I go like this. Literally a game changing situation. Now, if you're on mouse and keyboard, you play in there. That's just another keyboard button, also known as boring. I think, I don't know. I used to play, keyboard all the time, but yeah, I just think that I think that folks are missing out if they haven't messed with the PlayStation DualSense controller. So yeah, a lot of new stuff kind of getting announced. Um, around Saros and all of its all of its like features. So that's cool. The roguelite third-person shooter is going to have permanent upgrades, which is a big change over Returnal, where Returnal would change the loot pool a lot, but you very rarely got like a permanent upgrade, and you didn't get like a boost to health or boost to defense. Like that stuff just didn't happen. The only thing you got is your loot pool expanded, and when you would find loot, you would level up the guns. So the guns would like the gun you find might be a higher level now than it was before, which matters a lot. It is progression, but it's not the, you're +5 to defense permanently forever. And Saros is going to play with that a lot. They're going to have permanent upgrades, but there's a middle lane to hit. There's some way that you're supposed to make that work. That's they're balancing it, right? They're going to make it like they're going to find a way to balance it out to where it is not an easy game. It's going to be a difficult game. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing on time? Oh man, this show's running long. We got to speed up. I got stuff to do. You got stuff to do. What are you doing? Are you doing laundry right now? Are you on a run? You're on a walk? All right. We got a couple more news items here before we get to the promised Game Awards article that I keep teasing here at the end. One more quick hit news. Playstack, the publisher of Balatro, has announced that they have what a quote unquote hit rate of more than, or hit ratio of more than 85%. So basically, according to GameDeveloper.com here, they've maintained a hit ratio of over 85%, meaning the vast majority of titles they've published have generated a positive return on external development cost. Now, if you're me and I'm you, and we're listening to that, we go, oh, you're a profitable business. And maybe extremely profitable in some cases, like Balatro is probably like a runaway hit. And some developers and some companies like Crimson Desert came out with that 78 on the Metacritic this week, and their stock dropped like crazy, like 20 or 30%. And it's like, well, what does it take to make a hit? Like if the game sells millions of copies, we're not, and is profitable, but it's not enough, we're not happy. Like when's enough, Yeah, some of their new every new title published by Playstack in 2025, such as Voidbreaker and Unbeatable, remains on track to deliver a return on invested capital. According to TrueFen, which is the parent company of Playstack, the return on investment capital exceeds 300%. Internal rate of return of over 100%, which is nerd talk for they're making good money based on how they are investing it. 20 million new downloads during the year. So good for them. Look, it is a smaller publisher making good money and people are happy. Like that is one more sign of a way that we can have a healthy game industry where not everybody has to put out Marathon and Crimson Desert and these big games. Put out some smaller games that are doing well. That's what you want. It's what I want. There's one thing I don't want, and that is AI slop in my video games. I don't want it. I'm not an AI hardliner. I know people who are. There's some people that listen to this show that are AI hardliners. They say, and I don't think they're wrong. We'll see what the courts can prove someday. That these AI models have trained different ones. They're not all the same, but a lot of them have trained on stolen material that was on the internet, movies, books, copyrighted materials of all types. They trained on those to make the models understand that content and then sold the model and access to the model on a meter. It says like, hey, come check out our model. Buy a little bit of, you want a taste of this? You want some? And what they're really reselling is intelligence, reasoning, access to all the data, some of which is visual data, musical data. Some of these AI services are selling music and visuals and everything else that they didn't pay for. And if you're an artist, if you're somebody that produces content, if they sample this show and they're getting my voice and then reselling it back out, that's theft. How can you prove it? Has it been proven in the courts? It's a complex situation. But there's also a lot of open data out there. There's a lot of open source code repositories out there. There's a ton of internal code. So when I think about like business productivity, information that's just out there, not copyrightable, some of it is, some of it's not copyrightable. Um, for me, I go, that's business productivity software that's based on information that is available in the GitHub is the most wide open source group of repositories that you can find. And if they're training models on that stuff, who cares? It's open source. The whole point is that you could repackage it. People get upset when they find out that people have just resold or repackaged open source information, open source code. But I'm like, that is in part what it's there to do. The licensing is there for that. But the licensing on photos, Getty Images is not going to tell you that you can just use their photos because you saw it hanging around on the internet. That's copyrighted information. You have to pay big money to Getty Images per photo to be able to use it. I can't show a movie clip on this podcast, on the video version of this podcast, without it getting flagged by YouTube instantly because it's copyrighted. I can't show or play music that I don't pay for, and I pay a subscription to a music service. It's reasonable cost every year, but it's not like popular. Like I'm not getting the radio hits. It's really cool music for like online creators, and even that's copyrighted. If I don't use that correctly, or it could still get flagged incorrectly, they'll say, "Oh, you're stealing, Andy. Why are you stealing stuff?" Music, visuals, books, movies, photos are the most copyrightable. Don't you dare steal it. Intellectual property that society produces. And code and other productivity methodologies are some of the least copyrightable. They are copyrightable, but they're harder to defend. It's like I have an idea and I implement it in code slightly differently than you find. So where's the line on these AI generations? Like if you've been following me for a long time, it's like I have worked in tech and I do work in tech. Guess what? AI's around, man. I don't like the way that DLSS 5 from Nvidia slaps an AI filter on top of the video games. I think it looks bad. I think that all of the technical explanations for why it's not exactly it's supposedly like an AI slop filter are garbage. Nvidia has said that it's using the in-game assets, and that's let people think that it's using the video game assets and upscaling them somehow. What they actually mean is that every frame and the geometry of the frame that the NVIDIA card for DLSS 5, the tech demo that they showed this last week at DTC, it's looking at the frame generation, the frame data, and it's sending it through a trained ML model, a machine learning model, that's been trained on visuals. It runs very fast, and it generates frame by frame using two 5090s strapped to each other, an AI slop filter over the top. The video game developers supposedly are in control of how that's going to look. But the fact is, it's generative on top of the frame. So when you go to ChatGPT and you go, hey, here's my photo, make an anime Studio Ghibli version of me. Well, ChatGPT has trained on all the Ghibli movies, legally or not. I don't know. You decide. Some court will decide someday, maybe. It'll take your photo as an input, run it through the machine learning model that's trained on Studio Ghibli movies, and what comes out the other end is you looking like a Studio Ghibli character, kind of. That's happening here. Very, very fast. Frame by frame fast. It's using the data, not the whole photo. That would take too long. It's using the in-game data, the points and bits and bobs and vectors that create the frame of video game. And it's running it through the same type of machine learning model that is tunable. You can tune it, but you can't fully control it. And you end up with photos in the video game, if you look at it frame by frame, because that's what the model is doing, that are not what was in the original content of the frame. It's not what the developer put together. It's somebody else's face superimposed piece by piece on the geometry of the face of the game character. So Leon from Resident Evil looks different than he does without DLSS 5 on. The characters from Hogwarts Legacy look like totally different people. And they go, "Oh no, this is just it's just change it's the future of video games." If it's the future of video games, I'll be thankful to never buy another Nvidia card if I can. Um, th this looks terrible for so many reasons. They've changed the way the lighting works. They've changed the face structure of the main character, the other character. I don't play Resident Evil Requiem, so I don't remember her name. Lucy, I think. It doesn't look like it's supposed to look. It looks like a different person. Everybody's like, "Oh, it looks like Mila Kunis." Yeah, I bet they trained on her face. And they superimposed it on this character's face. And it's very similar to her face, but it's not the same. The character, after you have DLSS 5 on, has makeup on, the other character didn't. You have these poofy lips, the other character didn't have that. And if you zoom in and you were able to look close, you'd find that she actually have two different color eyeballs now that are slightly different size. It doesn't look quite right. It looks bad. It looks bad. The backlash has been huge. I was part of it. I don't really ever want to talk about it again. I just think it looks poor. It is a poor filter on top of the video game that got made. I think the people who think it looks good uh, probably have a soul. I think they're probably fine people in some other way. Um, I used to work for a company that created audio products, and they always would include a little letter in their audio products that said, we're trying to do a good job to create sounds from our audio products that are very similar to the original artist intent, and we're not trying to color or change it up. So if you bought headphones from Sony or anybody, you'd have a little button on the headphone maybe that says bass boost. Well, this other company, the one I worked for, didn't have that, and they would never have that. They said they thought that made no sense at all. Now, the customers wanted bass boost. They liked it. People like being able to customize the way their headphones sound. And some people like to have this big, driving, booming bass. But the company I worked for had an opinion about what it should look like or sound like in that case. And it wasn't something, that it wasn't that they had no effect on how it sounds. Everything that went into their headphone products made the headphones sound a certain way. But their design philosophy was, we're not going to try and mess with it too much. And we're not going to give you a bass boost button. Sorry. We're just not going to. That's not for you. If you need that, go somewhere else. Nvidia is basically saying, like, we have an opinion on how it should look. It should look like this AI filter on top because we think that looks good. And yes, you can turn it off, you can turn it on. It's not even available right now for consumers. It's like a research preview. But they say it's coming this year to single graphics card setups for PC. And then games will support it. The problem is it looks like garbage. And Jensen Huang told Tom's Hardware. Jensen Huang is the Nvidia CEO, one of the richest people in the world, one of the top 10. He said the critics about DLSS 5 are, quote, completely wrong. And the DLSS 5 uses content control generative AI at the geometry level. Content control. What he's saying, and honestly, this guy's got bigger fish to fry. I don't know why he's like worried about defending this. But content control just means that there are sliders and scalars on how much it's going to do. They're like, oh, you can mask it. You can put a masking here. So if you don't want somebody's face to get changed by the content control generative AI, then it won't. Okay. Yeah, I have full control. Great. It looks bad. Unfortunately, it looks terrible. One developer spoke to Kotaku and said it is an artless desecration of the medium. They had a bunch of games shown at their dev day or whatever, and all of the quotes on their website launch were from like CEO Todd Howard of Bethesda. Thank you for making our games look better. Or from some like managing partner, studio director. Thank you for making our games look better. No quotes from the people who made the textures in the games. No quotes from the game directors. No quotes from the people that said this was the release product that we spent 5 to 7 years building, and then you just slapped an AI filter on the top. Nobody said thank you about that. Wonder why. There was a big hoopla where Digital Foundry was basically at a hotel right after they showed the demo. They watched 3 hours of demos. They fired off a quick video about it, and basically was like, "Yeah, it looks amazing to us. Everything looks great." And then they got on a plane, flew back to wherever they flew back to. And I thought that that was disgusting for 2 reasons. Digital Foundry, and I will never be a Digital Foundry or person. I'm not gonna be able to count pixels like they do. I don't have the patience. They've put out incredible video content for me as a consumer of the content. I've been a subscriber to their YouTube for years. I like caring about, when they do console breakdowns and comparisons, like they're really into it. They're the experts and now independent experts. They've broken off and they're like funded by their own Patreon or whatever. For them to be experts for so many years in visual quality and to care about the IQ or image quality so much, and then to look at DLSS 5 and what it's doing and just go, this is really incredible. What do you mean by incredible? I have to ask. Do you mean that technically it's impressive that they can have a frame by frame, like generative AI layer mapped on top of the existing geometry? I think that is technically super impressive. They're stringing two 5090 graphics cards together to make it look like that. Incredible achievement. The problem is it looks like garbage. It looks like AI slop images that come out. I was doing some research recently because I was wondering, it's like, hey, when you see AI, they're obviously AI generated images, and maybe someday we won't be able to tell. Maybe some of us are fooled already. But when you see the ones that are obvious, well, the first question is, can the average customer tell the difference? And most people can't. There's some surveys that have gone out that say about 50% of people that see an AI generated image know that it's an AI image and they're accurate about it. So some other percentage of folks don't know it's AI or they think it is, but they're inaccurate. So only about half of people that see it can tell, and the variables are changing all the time as the models get better and everything else. So there's going to be a time at which either you won't tell or you'll get fooled or whatever. So we're imperfect judges of whether some AI images are AI images today. That's number one, which is why I don't blame people that argued with me on Threads about whether or not it's an AI filter, because it absolutely is. The company says it is. They want to call it content control generative AI, but that just means tweakable generative AI. Most people can't tell accurately. Fact one. Fact two, when people do find out that it's an AI image, their distrust spikes through the roof. Most people are not happy to find out that an AI image that a company uses, like on their website or in their products, is an AI image. The distrust of that company goes way down right away. I think it's like 70 or 80%. Some research. I'm quoting the research from memory. I skimmed it. I saw like the executive summary or whatever. So give me a break. But just to say that most people don't trust it. When they find out, the trust spikes. Where they have some leeway is if it's pictures of backgrounds, graphics, like maybe logos, I don't know. But the big thing is that people didn't like to find out were AI generated are pictures of humans and products. So if you go to like an Amazon webpage and you see the product picture, we want to know the product picture is real. And if we find out it's AI, we don't want to buy from you. If you see a picture of somebody using the product, and both the product and the person are AI generated, we absolutely do not trust you. We don't want to buy from you. And in the case of video games, with this DLSS 5 filter on top, it's changing the people's face, the characters that you're supposed to empathize with or care about or hate if they're a villain. It's like, when are movies next? When are we going to decide that we'll just do generative AI over the movie face? Because they've got the technology now. They can do it in real time. Just change it to whatever they want. But people want authenticity more than anything else. And when they find out they're not getting something authentic, they might be wrong about whether they think it's authentic or not. But when they find out, the distrust goes through the roof. So Jensen and Nvidia are like, I don't really think they care. I don't think they're like, oh, I'm on my heels, I'm losing sleep. I don't think they care that much. But I think he was surprised that he had to even respond to the criticism, to even have to say, no, the consumers are completely wrong. Completely wrong. Get out of here. Like, how dare you tell like my eyes are lying to me, or I know exactly what I'm seeing. I'm part of the 50% that can tell, at least this time. And Digital Foundry came back and we're like, oh yeah, let's do a mea culpa show. They pushed out that video of them just gushing and glazing the DLSS 5 and had to walk it back because people like me and others, I was like, look, you got 48 hours to respond as far as I'm concerned before I'm done with your whole website, before I'm not coming back and we're not going to be friends anymore. Now they don't know who I am. It doesn't matter. I'm nobody compared to them and their reach on the internet. I care about you. If you're listening to the show, you and me, copacetic. But Digital Foundry, I'm just a consumer of their content. I don't think they're watching my show. If they are, hello. Send me an email, podcast@andb.show. I'll be happy to chat with you. But they put out a mea culpa show that was like an hour long. And what they said during that show was, yeah, we're sorry we didn't wait to see what the reaction would be from the audience and other developers. Think about that. We're sorry we didn't wait to see what everybody else thought. Excuse me? I thought you were the expert in image quality. Why does it matter what other people think? At least Jensen, when he looks at me and you and anybody else that looks at DLSS 5 and AI slop right on top of your video games as a filter and says, you're completely wrong. Of course, he's trying to sell you something. But at least he just disagrees with you and doesn't go, well, how do you feel about it? Do you not? Oh, you don't like it. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should change a little bit. No surprise to me that at least he just goes, no, you're wrong. I'm right. And eventually we'll find out. Eventually I'll be proven right. Like at least he's got the conviction of his beliefs, even though he's wrong about this. This is gross. But Digital Foundry to go, like, we should have waited to see what everybody else would think. Have a spine. You either like it or you don't. And if 48 hours later, if you weren't on the take, if the check wasn't sent in the mail, if it wasn't a sponsored piece of content, and they've never said whether it was or wasn't, then you should be able to say, yeah, looking back, now that we've had a little bit of time to walk away from it and think and see it on our own home monitors that are fancy where we count pixels for fun and for profit, we can see that it's a generative AI filter and we do not like it. That's not what they said. They were like, yeah, no, it's still technically impressive. We're sorry that you didn't like our opinion. Please don't hate us. There's one guy on the show that was the dissenting voice who effectively has said what I've said, which is that it completely overwrites the frame data that was there from the video game developers, and it does it with a machine learning model output that's generating a new image on top. And this guy I'm like, maybe you should quit, bro. Like, it seems like your boss or whatever is like firing off videos without you, doesn't care. So if anybody was owed an apology, it was the other team member that had a dissenting opinion that didn't get a chance to say anything. because they're all independent. They're supposed to be like helping each other out. So what a disaster for Digital Foundry, really. At least I know if I hear a review from the one guy, I think his name's Avery, I don't know, the one guy that was a dissenting voice, I was like, well, I'll listen to your opinion about image quality from now on. But the other two, I'm like, you still think this is like looking great. So I can't wait for them to slowly come around. Maybe they'll see people unsubscribing from their channel. I don't know. That's how I feel about that. Okay, I promised this for a bit. The Game Awards opinion piece from Weston, a self-proclaimed Game Awards sicko, is the article that's going to close out our show today. If you haven't taken a look at bignerdgaming.com, now's your chance. Weston wrote, what if we had 10 nominees at the Game Awards like the Oscars? A retrospective. And what he did is he went and said, at the Oscars, you have 10 nominees for Best Picture. And so you can see a wider range of people who did or didn't make it. And at the Video Game Awards, the TGAs, the Game Awards by Jeff Keighley, you only get, I think, 6 now. And so he was like, let me go back using his methodology for predicting Game Awards. And he's like really into it. A Game Awards sicko, as he said. What else would he add? So for example, for 2014, when Dragon Age Inquisition won, that was okay, I guess. The other nominees were Hearthstone, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, Dark Souls 2, and Bayonetta 2. But if we'd have had 10 nominees based on Metacritic scores and this other proprietary formula that Big Nerd Gaming has, the other nominees would have been, and look what you would have missed out on if you weren't paying attention, Far Cry 4, Shovel Knight, great game, South Park: The Stick of Truth, Smash Brothers, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and Titanfall. Titanfall would have made the cut. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm reading. What else? Let's go to the next year. I'm gonna read you 1 or 2 more of these, and I'll let you get the rest on your own. In 2015, the actual Game of the Year award winner was The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. And the other nominees were Super Mario Maker, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, Fallout 4, and Bloodborne. But if we'd have had 10 nominees, then you would have had the following additions to consider. Listen to these. Batman: Arkham Knight. Whoa, it's a great game. Undertale, Splatoon, Rocket League, and Ori and the Blind Forest. So he's just changing the aperture a little bit. And what happens? You can see so much more special about video games. You just change the aperture a little bit. You'd be going back and looking at these lists for years later and seeing that aperture change. All right, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to 2020, I think. It's 2021. Yeah, 2021. And there's other ones. He went all the way back from 2014 to now, so you got to read the article. 2021, the actual winner was It Takes Two. Amazing game. Beat it this year with my kids. The other nominees were Deathloop, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. But if there'd have been 10 nominees, you'd have had Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Tales of Arise, and Returnal. Come on. Returnal. Come on. So great. I need to beat that game before Saros comes out next month. Everybody, that's the show. I'm so glad you've been here. It's been a packed week. There's a lot going on still. I can't wait to see you again next week. The Andy B Show is where it's at. Please share it with your family and friends. Go to andyb.show to subscribe to the Patreon, support the show. Yeah. I got to get back up to Cryo Archive, you know? Are you going to get up there this week? let me know. Let me know. Have a great week. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.